Hello, Wastebusters, and welcome to the April episode of Waste Not, Want Not. I have a delicious guest with me today, Jeremy Pierson, who has gone through so many different changes in life. And just like the seasons change, and we just experienced the equinox for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're now into the autumn season. And for you in the Northern Hemisphere, you're in the spring. It's really a time for us here to look at and reflect inwards on the resources that we've gathered, to get rid of what we no longer need and to sow seeds for the future. And then in the spring, it's about what you've been working on coming to life. It's rebirth, renewal, but equally, it's all about finding that balance and actually getting in sync with nature's rhythm itself, which is a biggie for me. One of the underlying principles of the oracle cards that I'm putting together. With that said, I just want to dive straight into this interview with Jeremy because he is a spiritual teacher and he brings an amazing amount of lived wisdom with him. And so he's really, really talking from experience. And he gave me so many aha moments, very refreshing, practical, grounded ways of opening your eyes to a different perspective that really helped make a lot of sense of stuff that you know, but it just broadened it and strengthened it and deepened it and helped put down the roots to it. No doubt you will learn an awful amount from him. It's a bit longer than normal, but it's such a rich, organic conversation that we both completely got lost in, as I'm sure you will too. Enjoy.
Part of my story is I had addiction, and when I was getting sober, I just started watching podcasts because it was like, I got to expose myself to something that's going to feed me, and just listening to people interact. And that's why I love to have the interaction of just having a conversation about, what are we doing here in this world, and just have this experience together.
And really, ultimately, that is what it's all about. For me, it's sharing other people's experiences and providing seeds of hope. So if somebody finds themselves in a similar situation, or they can
Yes.
pull something out and they can think, if they can do it, surely there's something that I can. Right across the board, it doesn't matter what it is, but you've experienced a few things.
A few, yeah. Sure.
Come out of the closet on so many levels. So let's start with the spirituality side of things. Can you define what you mean by spirituality?
Yes. So, good question. That's the big question, right? To me, spirituality means my connection to what I am. And Mhm. My spirit just told me there's a period at the end of that sentence. So what I believe spirit is, to me, what I am, right?
Yeah.
I'm not experiencing spirituality. I am spirit, but spirituality is how I interact with the world based on the knowing or the belief of what I am, right? So depending on what I believe spiritually, it's going to change how I behave and how I treat myself and how I treat other people. So like just like split two different categories. Anything spiritually based to me is about the connection of things. If
Yeah.
I have a spiritually based thought, is a thought that connects me to others, not one that separates me. So it's like we've got spirit and we've got ego. That's it. There's just those two worlds, love or fear. So my definition of spirit is what I am is spirit. And I don't mean the body. I don't mean Jeremy. I don't mean gender or age or any of that, but that which does not change, that which hasn't been born and will not die. And also what it is that is also what you are.
Yeah. It's fascinating because there's a lot of dogma out there, and people say that I'm very spiritual. And to me as well, it is about we are all spirits, and that is what we are. And it is that connection. And for me in my work, it is about creating that deeper connection to yourself. And as you
To
say,
yourself. Yes.
and when you do, as you said, it helps you. I'm not sure it's building, you have more confidence. It's because that inner knowing gives you
Yeah.
that confidence to be who you are without thinking you just are. And there's no apologies for it.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're saying that because the journey for me, that's why I've had to come out of the closet about so many things. And my spirituality has been the hardest thing for me to come out of the closet about, the scariest thing for me to come out of the closet about, because it's the most personal thing. And
Why? So, what kind of backlash, A, did you expect, and B, did
yeah.
you receive?
Well, yeah, no, that's really great the way you asked that because what I expected is not anything near what I received, right? Because I expect the worst. So what I expected was the witch hunts. I expected to be burned at the stake or crucified. I expected that if I told you what kind of an experience I'm having, you will think I'm insane. You won't believe me. You won't want me around and you'll hurt me,
Wow.
is what I thought. And also, I expected rejection. I respected rejection from my family, from my loved ones, from society. And I've been wrong about all of that across the board. I have experienced some pushback on things, obviously, but I was experiencing that when I was hiding as well. And when I'm hiding, I'm rejecting myself. And that's the worst experience of rejection is when I'm denying myself. So it all started in the beginning. When I was a little kid, I used to hide in the closet when my parents would fight. And there was something in there with me that would make me feel safe and comfortable. And it played with me and it was my friend. And I couldn't see it, but I just felt it. And that something has been with me my whole life. It's never left me. So I've always felt like an otherness with me. And it talks to me and I talk to it. And we talk about everybody and everything. And that was fine when I was a little kid, but as I got older, it became very clear that I couldn't let people know that was going on,
Wow. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Weird.
And then there's the things when people say, "Oh, it's just your imagination," which I think is the wrong thing to say to a child. It's not just your imagination. My imagination is the whole thing. It's everything that I'm experiencing is my imagination. So this idea that the rest of the world isn't having the same experience that I'm having and that that's not okay is kind of what started to happen and develop. So when I say in the closet, I know we think of about sexuality and things like that, but I was in the closet way before I ever knew that I was gay. I was in the closet already.
It's interesting what you're saying about, oh, crikey, I've lost my train of thought there. Hoping it will come in as well. Um, Imagination, that was it. Because I went to a convent, and so they were the most unchristian-like human beings going. So they weren't a good reflection of that. So I've always rejected the word God because it didn't say anything to me.
Mhm.
And it was always been a dogma, shove it down your throat kind of thing. It's quite funny because I chose the word enthusiologist, and actually, to enthuse is to breathe in spirit, which, if I'd really
Yeah.
looked at it, it's really quite bizarre and a lovely coincidence. But to me, because everything is energy and I work with quantum science and it is the foundation of everything, we only perceive 1% of the electromagnetic field. And so the imagination is connection to the potential of that other 99% that other people can't see, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're speaking the same exact language. I'm frequently telling people we experience less than 1% of what's going on. So stop saying you know what's going on. You think what's going on.
Yeah.
You are imagining what's going on. And almost all of what I'm experiencing is my imagination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah. Again, it's part of the reason why I work with the quantum science things. It's really to get the scientific foundation to
Mm.
help people ground them in an understanding. And I haven't developed that direct connection. To me, it's just a knowing. And again, in writing or whatever it is, sometimes you'll do something and you think, holy crap. And you read it back and you think, oh, did I write that? That was rather clever because you're channeling stuff all the time, unbeknownst
Yeah.
to you. So, yeah, it's fascinating. Mm.
This is exactly the work that I do with people. I call my coaching business practical spirituality. And the experience that I've had over the course of my lifetime has been this journey to not only come out of the closet about so many different things, but also I've come to an understanding of what I call devotion without distance. And I call it that because that which I pray to isn't somewhere. It's not something. It's this. It's talking to itself about itself right now. And so when
You can be put away for talking to yourself as well.
absolutely, absolutely, right? And the devotion that I have is not to something else. It's to this. It comes from this, it's to this, and it's for this. And when you said you haven't developed the direct connection yet, but I'm curious if that's really true because I'm suspicious it's not true because to me, there's not something to develop a connection with. There's just to
Right.
remove the belief that I need a connection with something, to remove the idea that I could be not it itself. To think that I need to be connected with something, I first have to be separate from it.
Oh,
And if I'm not separate from it, I will never find a connection to it.
wow. Now there's a subconscious thought. Wow.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
So
Intriguing.
it's not about finding the connection to it. It's about no longer believing in connection at all.
Wow. It just
Just
did.
removing the complete idea of connection and just saying, I am it. So I don't
Oh.
need to have connection to it anymore.
And that brings me to one of the words that you said in our correspondence. You're talking about surrender. Now, that is one thing that I know to completely let go of things is freaking hard.
Well, let me tell you why I think it's hard, right? So this is what I think the dilemma is. I'm not actually holding on to anything.
Right.
So how can I let it go?
But if you have a conscious or subconscious belief in something, and
Yes.
you believe it is blocking you to let go, to surrender to any idea of intervening or making it better.
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
I do. I'm going to share a story with you because I think that stories are really helpful. So I remember my friend's grandson was very little. He was maybe 2, and we were walking with him, and he just didn't want us to hold his hand anymore. He wanted to be independent, and we kept trying to hold his hand, and he was getting upset. And so finally, we let him go, and he just plopped himself down in a bunch of rocks, and we just decided to leave him alone. So we walked away, but we hid around the corner behind a little fence so we could still watch him. And he thought he was completely independent and just having a great time with the rocks until he had the thought, they left me. And then he looked around and he got scared, and we came out from behind the fence and were there with him. And I was thinking to myself, when this was happening, is this must be what it's like to be that which I'm seeking connection from when I want to be independent. And it says, okay, I'll let you believe you're independent, but I'm here with you anyways.
Wow.
Right? I believe there have been so many periods of time in my life where I thought, I'm on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no God, there's no anything. And it loved me so much that it gave me the experience of being on my own, even though it was never true. So if what I've been believing is not true, then I don't have to let go of it because it can't hurt me if it's not real.
If it's not real, okay.
If it's
So
not real, then it can't hurt me. Then I don't need to let go of it. I just need to understand it was never real.
wow. Gosh, that's deep.
But it explains the difficulty, right? It's like, why am I having such a hard time letting go of this? Because you don't need to let go of it. But it's hurting me. It's not.
Wow.
It's not hurting you. You know why? Look at how amazing you are. Look at how beautiful you are. You're not bad. You're not wrong. You're not damaged. You're not broken. You're great. You're wonderful. You're perfect. You're divine. You're okay. So it's okay. And then all I have to do is say, oh, okay.
So, okay. There's a lot of talk in the spiritual world about shadow work.
Let's go there. That's good stuff.
that's portrayed as the not good traits.
Okay, so I'm going to clarify that. That is the traits that I say are not good that actually are,
Yes, I
right?
get you.
They're the
Yep.
parts of me that I've rejected that until they are fully loved, I will feel like I'm not enough. I will feel empty until I understand that there is nothing wrong with those character traits or those behaviors.
There's an acceptance of it.
A total acceptance and love of it, because the reason that I act in a way that's distorted is because of the belief there's something wrong with me. That's why it gets distorted. So I like to think of it like a garden hose, and I've got the water and I put my
Yeah.
thumb on the end of the garden hose. What
Yeah.
happens to the water?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
It gets sharp, it gets distorted, it has tension. So that water, if it was allowed to be experienced without the pressure, if it wasn't distorted or resisted, would be a very different experience. So I might have anger, and when I have a belief that I'm not allowed to be angry, it
Yeah.
turns into rage. But when I'm allowed to be angry, it turns into care, boundaries, respect, advocating for myself.
Mm.
But when I have this idea that I'm not allowed to get angry, it gets distorted and turns into something completely different. And so
And
then
that's
I get this.
almost suppressed emotions. To me, that is what all this world of depression is. It's all suppressed emotions. It's energy, emotion not being allowed to flow, isn't it?
100%. That's it. Now, the shadow consists of a lot of things. There was some of my shadow characters were very beautiful parts of me that weren't allowed to come out because I was afraid that people would reject me for them. Very loving parts of me. The spirituality in general was a shadow for me for most of my life.
You're referring to it as a shadow because you hadn't shone a light on it.
It wasn't allowed. It was cast into the darkness.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it doesn't mean it's something negative or bad. It means I'm not allowing it. So maybe there might be a man who's always wanted to be able to knit or crochet, and he believes he can't because the world won't accept it. So that becomes a shadow character.
Yeah.
And there's nothing bad about it at all. As a matter of fact, it's beautiful. It's just an artistic expression, but it turns into this part of themselves that they believe is unlovable. So some of it is negative behavior and some of it is beautiful behavior, but it's just a part of me that I've decided for whatever reason is deemed unacceptable by myself or by the world. So I will not allow it to be seen. And then at the same time, another character gets created, which is the persona, which is to make sure you don't ever look to see where that shadow is, right? So I've got this whole character that's created in order to hide these things. Neither one is the true self.
Mm.
So when we decide, I'm going to take a look at this character, this part of me, and say, what's going on there? And I always end up finding out that whatever this character is, that they were trying to do something good. They always were. So for me, there was this part of me that, like the little kid whose mother left when he was 4, and he thought it was his fault.
Mm.
So he spent his whole life not wanting you to know too much about him because you would leave, and he didn't want to hurt you and he didn't want you to leave. And so he does all this distorted behavior just to get validation, but also to make sure you're not going to leave.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. But when I spent some time with him and realized that he wasn't doing anything wrong, he just wanted to be loved. But then I had to spend some time with him. I had to do what I call spiritual time traveling. This was something that I learned to do through the 12 steps. But I believe that it's real because in consciousness, there's no time and no
Yeah.
space. So in consciousness, I actually go back in time and sit with that version of myself. And we have a talk about how not wrong they are.
Are you talking from Jeremy today to your
Yes.
yourself? Yeah.
And here's something really cool about it. So in my experience, what happened is I remember being little Jeremy hearing. Now, remember I said there was something in the closet with me?
Yeah.
You ready for the twist?
Go on.
It was me now.
Wow.
It was me now in the closet with me when I was a kid. Me talking to you right now about that little version of me is what I was experiencing, comforting me. Because right now, you and me and anybody listening to this is in that closet with that little Jeremy right now, supporting him. And he's feeling it. And I remember feeling that.
Wow.
I don't
Wow.
need to know who God is. I don't need to know anything about God. Because to little Jeremy, God is us.
Yes.
So right now, I have something communicating with me that I can hear and feel and know. And it's a future experience communicating with me now. I don't need to know anything about God.
Wow. To me, that really sits with the importance of being present here and now.
Yes, because that's where it all happens. Right here, right now is where I can change my past. See, people say, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then they say, well, what are the things you cannot change? And people will say, I can't change my past. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. I have, and I know that you can. You just need
Mm.
someone to walk you through it, but you absolutely can. You have access to your past right now in the present moment.
How much detail
Yeah.
cost do you need in order to reassure yourself as a younger self
Mm.
that it's all love and all being, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this one, because we have a tendency to separate things out as to cause and effect. And so if you're talking to your past self, do you need all the nitty-gritty details, or is it just
No.
the
No, because remember, you made up 99% of it anyways. Yeah, so you don't actually need anything at all. You're making it all up. The 1% that you actually know isn't even what you're upset about.
Right, yes.
Everything you're upset about, you made up.
Right.
If
Wow.
someone hit me, that's not what I'm upset about. I'm not even upset at the time that someone hit me. I'm upset maybe a year or two later. When my mom left when I was a kid, I didn't believe negative stuff about myself when she left. It was a little bit later, maybe a few years later, when
Yep.
I started making that stuff up. So
Yep.
that's where people miss, is because if I want to do the healing, I don't go and talk to little Jeremy when he was 4. I talked to Jeremy when he was like 9, when he
Right.
started believing stuff and making up stories about it. Little Jeremy, when he was 4, all I needed to do was just be with him and say, you're not alone and we're okay. Let's play with your light bright and we'll be fine. And that was fine. But the Jeremy at 9 years old is the one that believes that he wasn't enough in this world and that he never would be. So that's the one I need to talk to. And I don't need a lot of information. The stuff that we're upset about isn't the details of what happened. It's what we think it means about us.
What we think it means about us. I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we're upset about. I don't really care if you slam the door, but if you slam the door because you're mad at me, that I care about. It's only what I think it means about me that I'm hurt by. So when we do this spiritual work, it's all about changing the meaning of what happened. I don't have to change the event. My past isn't the event. My past is the meaning of the event. That's my past.
Yeah, the meaning you attach to it.
The story.
Yeah.
Because multiple people in the same event have
Yeah.
a different past. They have a different memory of it, and they have a different effect as to how it changes the course of their life. So I have access in my consciousness to direct access to the one that's making the story up. And I have influence over that one because I am that one,
Ah, yes.
right? Nobody has more influence than I do over that. So if you're feeling powerlessness, this is the solution. That real-time connection to the self, the no longer believing that you're a particle. You're not, you're a wave, but you show up as a particle, don't you? This is quantum physics, right? So
Right.
I am both a particle and a wave.
Yeah.
Particle is the one you're talking to. It's the memory, the snapshot, but the wave is the frequency, the story. And I can follow that wave back to anything, to any point on that wave and communicate with it, change the frequency of the wave and change the entire timeline of my life. Not only have I changed my memory of what happened to me when I was 4,
Yeah.
but also everything that happened to me after that also shifted to a new timeline,
Yes, I get it.
which makes my present different. And I know it happened because my present feelings shift and I can feel the frequency shift. And then my idea of what my future is also shifts.
Yep.
And the
Wow.
best is I can communicate to my future self because we're communicating in consciousness. So there's no future. It's all now. So I talk to my future self and say, tell me what I'm supposed to do. Tell me what I need to say to my past self. And my future self communicates to me and I pass on the message. Or my future self tells me this is how we get here. Because nobody knows better than me in the future how I get there.
Right. And so what about intuitive messages, which obviously it's the voice?
That's what we're talking about.
So if you don't know what you're aspiring to in the future, it's really being open to receive any information. And it is that step-by-step process. You don't necessarily need to know.
Correct. But what you do need, well, you don't need to know where, okay, so no, you do need to know there's some responsibility to it, right? Because I have been led by fear disguising itself as my higher self. When it was really a distortion. So now we're going to go to an analogy of imagine that you are a radio, you are a sender and a receiver of frequencies. Okay. So if I move to a new city and I get in my car, I want to start listening to different radio stations to see which ones I like and which ones I do not like.
Okay.
And then I'm going to program my radio to the favorite stations, right? This is called meditation, right? So I'm going to spend time listening to my thoughts and deciding which ones lead me to love and which ones do not. I'm going to listen and I'm going to pay attention to when I'm listening to this frequency, what does it do to me? How does it affect my body? How does it affect my mind? How does it affect the way that I treat myself and other people? And if I don't like the results, I'm going to stop listening to that frequency and I'm going to find another frequency to listen to. So this is about,
I'm just going to be devil's advocate here. If you've got another voice in your head saying, no, you need to stay here because it's expected of you.
great. So to me, I only listen to the, well, I would like to only listen to the frequency of love. I'm not perfect, right? But if something said something like that, that sounds like it's out of fear. And I'm not going to listen to that. But what I will say is, I want to listen to that which is for the highest good of all concerned. I will only follow that which communicates to me from love, right? And so then it might say, you will like the results better if you stay.
You're talking from someone who has been on a massive journey. Take yourself back to the beginning of your journey where fear and, God forbid, there's so much of it out there because people are focusing on it.
So let's simplify this, right? Yeah.
And it's really just making it slightly more practical in as much as how do you know that it is fear guiding you? Because there's so many bloody groups and that people are so automated in doing stuff. So what is the wake up call?
Fear will say, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. It's going to threaten you, right? Love doesn't do that. Love just says, stay, go. Love also is going to communicate in present tense. It's not going to say you should or you shouldn't. It's just going to say, stay, go. And I have cultivated that by saying to my internal system, I need you to be clear with me. I've programmed that. So I have an internal guidance system, but it starts with this. I think this is really important too. Think about a GPS. If I want to get to New Zealand from California. I can't just say, get me to New Zealand from California. My GPS needs to know exactly where I'm at and exactly where I want to go. But let's say I just want to go to New Zealand, anywhere in New Zealand, but I need to get there from here. And let's say that I don't like where I'm at. So let's say I call Philippa and I say, give me directions to where you're at because I want to get out of here. And you say, great, Jeremy, tell me where you're at. And I say, I don't want to because I don't like where I'm at. Just get me out of here. And you say, well, hold on. I can't get you out of there until you tell me where you're at. And I say, I don't want to look around. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it sounds. I don't want to be here. So my lack of acceptance of where I'm at is the reason I can't receive any guidance.
Ah,
Right? You need me to be able to look around and say, okay, I am sitting in this apartment at this address in this city, and or maybe I don't know the address and you need me to look around and say, well, this is what the building looks like. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. I need to be clear. This is where I'm at. And the only way I can get to where I want to go is from right here, right now. And the more I am in acceptance, not approval of, but acceptance of where I'm at, the easier it will be for me to tune into guidance on how to get where I want to go. And the more clarity I have about where I want to go, the better. But a lot of times we don't know so much about where we want to go. A lot of times we're in a situation, we go, I just want out of here. Well, here's what happened to me. I remember this is an experience that for a lot of people, they may not relate, but I was in a desperate situation and I didn't know a way out of it. And I was contemplating suicide. And I had an experience with an archangel. The ceiling turned dark and then it opened up and something came in through the ceiling and it was a winged figure. And I'm telling you, you don't want an experience like this. I don't recommend it because it wasn't terrifying, but it was really intense. It just wrapped me up and it was black and gray. It wasn't made of light or anything. I did not feel evil. I felt very safe, but it was really intense and ominous, I think is probably the best word. And it wrapped its wings around me and I felt like I was in a cocoon and I just dissolved. I didn't disappear. I was still there, but I was no longer a person and I wasn't suffering anymore. I just dissolved. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up and I was at that point in time coming down off of drugs. And when I woke up, I was completely sober. And there's no way that I would have sobered up that fast. So I was miraculously healed, sober. And I wanted to get up and I wanted to go to work and I was motivated. It didn't change very much in my life, though, because I still continued to use. But the only difference was I then knew, and I have always known since then, should I get to a point in my life where I say to myself or out loud, I can't do this anymore, help will come.
wow.
Help will come. But I had to be done. I had to be able to say, I can't.
And the other really lovely thing there is that it takes away this, because everything's a quick fix nowadays. And so by your saying that in that experience, you were dissolved and it gave you something just enough to hold on to. You didn't stop immediately, you weren't miraculously changed, but
No.
you were given some guidance. They won't intervene and tell us what to do, but they are there supporting us and giving us an experience to help ourselves, basically. Is that what you're saying?
They're in service to us, by the way. Yeah, they are not above us. They are not better than us. They're not more than us. We are all equal. And it's just a different role. And they are in service to us. We are not in service to them. But I'll tell you what, just like anybody else, when you are in service to that which is in service to you, it's such a beautiful relationship.
Wow.
So when you start to change your attitude, just like if I appreciate my server at a restaurant, I get better service, right? But I still had to do the work.
I was
Right,
going to
there
say,
was-
how did you move on from that one? So we've touched on the spirituality coming out, but now you're talking about the drug side of things. And did you discover that the drugs were something to numb the pain for you?
Yeah, absolutely. The drugs did a lot for me. One thing that they did is they numbed the pain of feeling like I wasn't fitting in or that I would be rejected, but they also gave me the courage to be myself
Yeah.
at the same time. And when you give me something that takes away my pain and gives me courage and pleasure all at the same time, it's a wrap. I'm done.
You're not going to give it up easily, are you?
No, I can't because it works so well. There's no reason to stop. And then by the time that it starts to turn into problems, I can't stop.
Mm.
Now I'm in the closet about that too. So that's the other thing I was in the closet about was my addiction. I'm having to hide that because I also was a professional ballroom dancer for 30 years. I have an incredible career where I'm helping people and it's a very elite career. I can't be a drug addict, but I am. So I'm living this dual life, ballroom dancer by day, drug dealer by night. Just shame, total shame. There was just this weird twist of because when I'm teaching, because I'm in service to others, I channel spirit when I'm teaching. And that's what made me such a phenomenal teacher and so successful was because spirit could tell me what to tell someone to get them to do something. And I wouldn't even know what I was saying, but they knew what I was.
A connection. It was who you are. It's a way of expressing yourself. So there's no thinking involved in it.
That's right. There's no thinking involved. And when I'm not teaching, all the shame would come back. All of the fears would come back. When I'm in flow, when I'm channeling spirit, when I'm teaching, when I'm being of service to someone, I don't have any problems. There's no problems at all. But I became addicted to that too, because the moment that I wasn't teaching someone, then I needed the drugs
Wow. Yeah.
because I wasn't getting that fulfillment that I needed, the validation that I was getting. And that's the shadow side of the teaching and being of service. It turned into a distortion because I needed it for validation. Once being of service to others turns into the need for validation, it turns into martyrdom and it becomes the shadow side. Everything always has a shadow.
So how did you get off drugs?
That was quite a journey. Things got really bad. I got arrested. And then I was able to get sober for 7 years by working the 12 steps of a 12-step program. But I actually only worked 11 of them, meaning that the 12th step is service to others. And I didn't do that. So I did all the other work and it lasted for a while. But ultimately, I ended up drinking and using again because you can't keep it unless you give it away. It's a spiritual axiom. In the world of spirit, when I pour out of my cup into your cup, both cups get filled, which
Yeah.
is very different than the physical world, where if I pour out of my cup, I have less. But in the spirit world, when I give to you, I have more, right? So by not doing that, I was constantly being drained. And during that period of time, I stayed sober for 7 years. I became an ordained minister. I became a professional competitor. So I was doing really well in my field as a dance instructor. And I also had devoted myself to a relationship. And it was all surface level. There was no dedication to self. Dedication to self and service to others is the secret sauce. That's the magic equation. And they sound like opposites, but they're not.
Mm.
True self-care and service to others go hand in hand. And I wasn't doing that. All I was doing was really feeding the ego and I was building the spiritual ego. I'm an ordained minister. I was searching for something, some way to have a platform where I could help people. I knew the vision for my life. I could see it. I could see this version of myself that was a spiritual teacher, helping people and all of that. But it turned out the only way for me to get there was going to be through the 12 steps. That was because I have addiction. And so if I have addiction, I need to go through this process of recovery in order to find myself. And the people I'm supposed to help are the people that are going through what I've been through. Those are the ones I'm supposed to be helping. So I was building this spiritual ego based on accomplishments, not actual spiritual healing.
Yeah. I think that is another big thing about this world, because my backstory has been about failure and accomplishing. Because basically, I've been put on this planet to disrupt things and test things for myself and experience things. You can tell me something, but I can accept it, but I have to experience it for myself. So the failure and accomplishment side of things, like, I got my psychology degree by mistake because I started off with the Open University in England. I wanted to discover about child development because I think my son was 18 months at the time, and all the baby books were boring. And I thought, I don't want my children to go through the pain of not being able to achieve or be someone when you already are someone. You're born.
Oh,
The big thing. I failed everything in school. I got U for useless, which is less than 15%. And so I got to the third year and my son started school. So there was something in education. I went, holy fuck, I'm halfway through a degree here. Now, if you told me that at the beginning, I would never have set off because I was meeting an expectation. Anyway, I carried on because I loved it. Then in the fifth year, I did all the assignments, but it came to the exam and my brain cells went out to play. They had a party, couldn't remember a thing. It was actually the Open University, so this is crikey 30 years ago, told me about visualization. So every morning I'd take the dog for a walk and I'd imagine myself receiving my degree, which was another year on. And I thought, I cannot do this anymore. So I did 2 years worth in 1 year and I eventually got it. And the irony was that my husband at the time said, I suppose you think you're important now.
uh,
Unfortunately, I could laugh because it made him feel less than. So
Yeah.
I didn't take it personally. I just knew it was a reaction to it. So the accomplishment side of things, and being British as well, that's always been something where people aspire to. And with the psychology, the disruptor, I refuse to join any board that qualifies me as someone who can do it. For me, it is about the relationship, the connection that you have to someone. So if somebody does not connect to me when I'm mentoring, that's fine. They don't need to say why, because it's really, really important. And I don't like everybody. So why the hell should everybody love me?
That's it. I love what you're talking about right now, and I resonate with it so much because I ended up relapsing, and then I went out there for 6 more years, just full throttle, just
Wow.
destroyed my life, just teared it down. Finally, one day, I ended up in a drug-induced psychosis, drove my car into the side of the library, and for some reason, when I was being arrested this time, I didn't want to talk my way out of it, and I surrendered. I just remember everything in me, I just gave up. It was the same feeling as when Archangel Michael came. It was the same feeling. It was like, I'm done. But I wasn't thinking about suicide. I didn't want to die. It was, I'm done and I don't want to die. And I don't want to kill anybody. Just take my life and do with it as you please, but don't kill me and don't kill anybody else. That was all I wanted. My bar was really low. I wasn't expecting a lot. And so I ended up going through this really awful period of detox. I detoxed in my apartment. I didn't go to the hospital or anything. And the archangel was there with me. And I just felt a hand on my chest, a big, heavy hand. And every time I went to set up and I might go use drugs again, because I still had drugs in my apartment, the hand pushed me back down. And this went on for 10 days. So I stayed sober for 10 days. And then I was able to get to an AA meeting. And at my first meeting, against my will, my hand raised itself and my body spoke and said, I need a sponsor and I need a commitment at this meeting. And I was horrified because I didn't want any of that. So I was possessed by the Holy Spirit and it just took over. Or maybe it was my future self stepping in and taking over. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. This is when I started to realize whatever will lead me to connection, whatever will lead me to well-being, that is what I will listen to. I will start listening to a different frequency. And so from that day, everything started going a different direction. And over the course of my first year, I just went to meetings all day long. I didn't work. I just went to 12-step meetings all day and immersed myself in the recovery community and started being of service to people and started helping people and caring about something other than myself. And like I said, my bar was really low. I just decided I just need to be a better human. That's it. I don't need to be a better spirit. I already knew I was perfect as a spirit, but I needed to feel it. I just need to be a better person. That's all I need to focus on. And so through the process of working the steps, it reconnected me to myself again and to my destiny again. Now I'm sponsoring people and I'm living my life. And it's like, oh, this is what I wanted. This is what I was looking for. It wasn't teaching ballroom dance. It was helping people do what I thought I couldn't do, which is what I loved about teaching dance. Was I loved helping people that thought they couldn't dance. Those were my favorite people to work with. But then the pandemic came and everything shut down and I had started teaching dance again and I couldn't teach dance. And people started saying, hey, can we just go on a walk? Can I still call you even though they couldn't take their lesson from me because they said, you're my spiritual teacher? And it just shifted to spiritual teaching. And so I started doing that. And then there was this period of time where I was like, well, do I need to get certified and all that? And that's why I resonate with what you said, because everything that I looked at as a certification, I decided I can't do that. I can't be having somebody tell me how to spiritually coach someone. I can't have
Mhm.
it. So what I decided was I'm qualified by my lived experience. I'm certified by God and I serve at the pleasure of the universe. So if you don't like it, great.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely. Free choice, definitely. And it's that instinct, isn't it?
yes. And
It
so that's why it's so important that I had to come out of the spiritual closet. It was like, it's time for me to start getting out there, which is why I'm doing podcasts now, is just to share this message and say, hey, if you're struggling with any of the stuff I've mentioned, reach out to me.
okay.
Reach out to me.
The one thing that we haven't done, which the phrase is very familiar with people, is coming out the closet as a gay. At what point?
Yeah. Yeah. So that happened when I was 18.
Oh.
And yeah, and actually that was the easiest thing out of everything else to come out about. But where it's been difficult is with me. Like I'm the one that is always afraid people are going to judge me. I now work in communities where you wouldn't think that it would be working. I'm working with men that are just coming out of prison, and I am absolutely myself, and they love me, and I love them. And they're some of my favorite people to work with because people have been overlooking them and mistreating them and misunderstanding them. And so they get me.
Yeah.
They understand me. It's been amazing what Spirit has done for me because in order to heal my fears about being gay, I had to be immersed in these people that looked like the people that would reject me.
As you say, it looks on the outside completely opposite, but I worked with a gang leader because I do work with horses. And so there's no agenda with horses. Brilliant mentors. It just goes to show how you're programmed to your environment. So we went out in this field and he thought he was going to be attacked. He's so used to watching his back. And what happened was 20 horses in there. And we got to the middle and all the horses on the outside, they'd all taken up their own space and every single one had turned outward from him. And one came up behind him and rested its muzzle on his shoulder and he didn't even see it. And he was blown away
Wow.
that his perception of what he thought would happen didn't. And then he saw one horse resting and he thought that horse was going to attack him because it was the same behavior as dog fighting.
I see. Yeah.
And no amount of talky talk could have convinced him that there is another way. And
Experience only, right?
exactly. And because prisoners are there for a reason, because there's a circumstances that have made them survival, a lot of
Yeah.
and patterns. And so for someone to recognize that while you're there helping them, it's like you're not squeaky clean. You've got this real experience that's grounded in good shit that means that you're a man, even though you're gay. I'm putting air quotes there. It doesn't make you any less of a man because you're gay. It means that you had the balls to stand up and face.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. I've had to have the balls to stand up and be me. And I've also had to choose wisely. I've had to go through the excruciating pain of not being myself in order to self-preserve. I've had to go through that too. And they understand that. They know that. They know what that's like, right? We're all survivors. Before anybody's gay or straight, we're survivors. We're humans. We've been traumatized and we've been through stuff. And I really believe that when you approach someone with respect, real respect, when I say we approach them with respect, I don't mean respect them. I mean, when you respect yourself,
Yes, and I think that
they
is
will respect you.
yes. And have you come across Darius Wright?
The name sounds familiar.
He's had a near-death experience, and like
Yeah.
a lot of people come back from a near-death experience and they talk about the colors and the sounds and things that you don't get here. Well, it's not surprising because it's 99% bigger
Yeah.
spectrum than it is here. So
Yeah.
it is the weight of that judgment, expectation, and fear. And if
Yeah.
you take that away and any shame again as well, if you remove that and really connect to the fact that all you are in any given moment is pure love.
Exactly. I had an experience that my roommate and I have had this shared spiritual experience, and we've had it multiple times, which is very interesting. So one day it was after going on a gratitude walk, and we had gone on a really long one, and we came home and we were tired, but we were so just overwhelmed with gratitude. And we were talking to each other about how good it was feeling to be who we are and doing what we were doing. And we were sitting across from each other in our living room, and we both nodded out. But I don't remember going to sleep. What I remember is everything just melted away. It's like I melted into myself, and I was still there, but there was no body. There was nothing to notice. I believe that I was actually taking in the whole thing. I was experiencing what was actually happening. My filter turned off, and it was only love. There was nothing said. There were no entities. It was just pure love. And I remember the color orange, and I remember it feeling what I would say is like a warm bath, very much like maybe being in the womb is what it would feel like. And I was just beingness. And I don't know how long I was there. There was no experience of time. But when the experience came to completion and I came back to the awareness of the body, it felt like I was coming up from underwater because the body sat up and I went like that. And there was such a feeling of, I love being here. I want to be here. It was like I had all these experiences that people talk about in a near-death experience, but I didn't have to die. I didn't have to have a traumatic event. And the thing that was different from me was that I didn't resist coming back. I wanted to come back to the body. I wanted to come back into this world. And ever since then, what I've had is an absolute knowing that I am choosing to be in this world, that I want to be here. And that's really true for everybody underneath it all, whether they know it or not. It is true. And when I sat up, she sat up too. And we both went, oh my God. And then we started to talk about it, and we had exactly the same experience at the same time. And that has happened to us together multiple times. We've had it happen 3 times that I can remember, but there may have been more. But there's some sort of a connection where we're having it at the same time, which to me makes it extra special because I'm skeptical of all of my spiritual experiences. And so I love to have science behind it. I love to be able to explain it or prove it. This one I couldn't.
Was cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm still my biggest skeptic. And I'm working on it because what I've had to tell myself, why would I lie about experiences that people wouldn't believe? If I'm going to lie, I would lie about something that everybody would believe. That's
Right.
like lying about being gay. Why would I lie about that? If I'm going to fake something, it's not going to be something that you're going to reject me for. So that's how I've kind of worked myself through understanding that, okay, I'm not making this stuff up. I like the fact that many of my spiritual experiences have been witnessed by someone else or can be confirmed by someone else. Not all of them, though. And so I do want to say to people out there, a spiritual experience, a miracle does not need to be witnessed by somebody else. A miracle is the change in perspective. So whatever the spiritual experience does to me, that's the spiritual experience. I don't have to be able to explain it or qualify it or quantify it. What matters is what it does to me. That's the important part of it.
And that's the magic. And that's the believing before you see it, because it's there, even though we can't see it, because we can only see the 1%. So what other kind of experiences have you had?
Oh, so many. The next one that comes to mind, which is one that my roommate has also seen with me. I was planning a spiritual workshop. I do a spiritual workshop every Saturday. There's the plug. I have a spiritual workshop every Saturday. It's online. I'll tell you more about that later. But I was getting prepared for it, trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I heard something behind me and I saw what out of the corner of my eye looked like a white dove appear next to my chair and then fall to the ground. And I turned around and my roommate said, "That was a bird." And I said, "Are you serious?" In our living room. And I looked on the ground and it was a book. And I said, "Where'd that book come from?" She said, "It was a bird. I was looking right at it." She said, "I was just walking towards you and a white dove appeared and it landed and turned into a book." She was watching it happen and I saw it out of the corner of my eye and I picked it up and it was a book I'd never seen before. And the title was The Power of Praise. Never in my life at that point in time would I have purchased a book called The Power of Praise. There's no way. She's a microbiologist, very scientific, and she would have been totally opposed to it too. We'd never seen the book before, and here it was laying next to my chair in my living room, and we both saw it appear as a white dove. So I picked it up and I read it, and it turned out to be quite influential for me in my spiritual shift. Because the thing is that I do praise God. It's just not the God that they taught in church. And so to have this book where it was in that wording, and I started to become more comfortable with being able to say out loud, I believe in God. I even have a relationship with Jesus Christ, but not the one they're talking about. Very different one.
Okay,
And
I'm intrigued.
so that was a really important experience. And there have been a lot of things like that. And mostly my spiritual experiences are what I call sidewalk miracles. They're normal, everyday things. For instance, I might be thinking that I have a problem that I want to solve. And I decide I'm going to go outside and go for a walk. And I might be sitting on a bench and a couple will walk by talking to each other. And as they walk by, they say exactly what I need to hear as they walk by.
I've heard of
Right?
it. Yeah.
Right? Or maybe I'm driving the car and there's something on a billboard. Or maybe I turn on the radio and I hear exactly the song that I needed to hear. I have a lot of spiritual experiences with music. When people pass, I've had them communicate to me through songs that play. I have entire playlists that I've saved that were messages from people just after they passed in my life. And they're unexplainable because they're all over the place in the genre. They don't make sense, like one song completely after another. You've got classical followed by pop, followed by country western, and then a rap song. No line to it except the titles. When I put the titles together, they say the things that person would be saying to me. I've had lots of experiences like that. And that's why I refer to myself as a contemporary mystic. My mysticism isn't based in books that are thousands of years old. I love those books too, don't get me wrong. But my mystical experience is happening today using technology, YouTube, Spotify, whatever. I'm using all of it to give me my spiritual experience. And I believe these experiences are happening to people all the time and they're just overlooking them because they're thinking that a spiritual experience or a miracle needs to be something that couldn't have happened. But it really is just
Or
yeah.
it's your awareness of
Yes.
the environment. So if you see something on a billboard, somebody might just go past it, or I mean, you can't explain the dove and the book in that kind of way, but the conversations and the music, because of your awareness, you can see the link of the titles of it. So it is that awareness is a huge part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I use quantum physics to explain the dove and the book because it was in superposition as two different options. And our thought process would have been something like a dove would get our attention. A book falling might have just fallen off the bookshelf and I might not have noticed it. So those possibilities were both there. And I think we just witnessed multiple possibilities at the same time.
Wow.
And because we are not two different beings, we are just two different beings looking at something from a different perspective, or one being looking at it from two different perspectives.
Yeah.
Happened like that. So I use quantum physics to explain what happened there and why that was experienced the way that it was. And then also the point that we're making it all up, right? It's all mind anyways. I think the most important thing here is my experiences that I've had that people can't relate to are totally unimportant and are not valuable. What's valuable is the everyday experiences, the ordinary stuff that people overlook. I also think that the whole model of who's connected to spirit and who isn't, I think is upside down.
Yeah.
Because let's say channeling. There's many different types of channeling. I doubted myself for most of my life because I didn't roll my eyes back and change my behavior when I channel. And I'm not making fun of that because that's fully legitimate. And some people that I really follow and find to be very inspirational are those type of channelers. But I channel also, but that's not what happens to me. I'm still present when I channel. So I have a different experience with it. And so because I was denying it and not letting the channeling experience be ordinary, I was overlooking it for so long.
So where's that come in?
So that's actually been happening all the way through. Remember when I said I was teaching, I would channel and I knew that that was happening. But even as a child, people would talk to me and I would know stuff. So spirit's been communicating through me my whole life. I always knew that I was knowing stuff that wasn't from my own experience. I knew that. And I do know the difference between when I'm channeling something and when I'm thinking something. There's a big difference as far as how the experience comes through. But I believe everybody's doing that. And they just don't call it that. Some people just call it inspiration or intuition or being in the flow. It's all the same thing.
But I
And
would argue from call it a place of ignorance, or it's my understanding, not ignorance, because you are on a higher frequency that it's clearer to you than somebody on a lower frequency.
if by higher frequency you mean cleaner, but not a hierarchy,
Not a hierarchy.
I would agree
Like a
with that.
radio.
Like a radio, yeah. And I would agree with that. I like to use the model of let's imagine the water on the planet. Okay. So down at the bottom, the lowest water is very highly pressurized. And up at the top, it's barely even a vapor. And so we've got different pressure. And in the different regions of pressure, there are different creatures that can survive in those regions, and those creatures cannot go outside of their region. I refer to consciousness in that way, and different thought patterns have to stay in their region of consciousness. They cannot survive in those higher levels. So if I'm in the lower levels of consciousness, I will be absolutely influenced by fear, shame, resentment, and that's the pressure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I am a multidimensional being, and so are you, so are all of us. And so we actually live on all levels at the same time, but our attention is not on all levels at the same time. So if I want to raise my attention level, I need to work on changing what I believe so I can go from shame to frustration or guilt. Guilt is much higher than shame. And then if I go to embarrassment, that's higher than guilt because I can talk about it now. And by talking and sharing it, and most importantly to me, if I can take what I'm deeply ashamed of and use it to help someone else, that pops me way up to the top. Now I'm rocketed into the next dimension and I'm up here at a much higher level because now I realize I am not ashamed. I believe that the things I did that I was ashamed of are now valuable and helpful. So now I'm way up here in joy, which is nearly not in a body anymore. So I would say, yes, I agree that those to me are the frequencies of consciousness. And if you want to raise your consciousness level, you've got to figure out how to use what you're ashamed of, come out of the closet about it, and let people know about it so that the other people who are also ashamed can find out that they don't have to be. And that's what's going to change everything for you.
That's the acceptance, the radical acceptance, isn't it? It's a bit like my failures. It's face bloods and I just laugh at them. They're not failures, they're lessons. It's like you say, look at all things as experiences, as lessons. Equally, the very fact that you did 7 years clean and then the shit hit the fan and you went backwards again. That must have been really hard.
Well, I didn't go backwards. That's not how I experienced it. I still went forward, but I went down a different path. So I was still gaining new experiences and learning new lessons. There is no backwards. There's only growth. So I was still learning the lessons that I was supposed to learn just through a different type of an experience. So let's imagine that my soul signed up for a bunch of lessons, but I don't know who the teachers are going to be or which version of the class I'm going to take. So I ended up in a different class than I thought I was going to be, with a different cohort, different students, but still the same lessons that I needed to learn, but through a different modality. So I'm still growing and learning, but it's just a different way of learning it. So then when I came out the other end and I got sober again, people were saying that they thought I had years of sobriety when I only had a few weeks of sobriety. People were saying, what do you mean you're only a few weeks sober? I said, well, because I remember everything I learned in those 7 years. I didn't throw it away. And I also remember everything I learned when I was out there using. I learned a lot of skills. And so now I'm going to use them in a different way. It was just always taking everything you've been through and using it for the next task. And any idea that you have gone the wrong direction or you have slid backwards is a huge misunderstanding about how this universe operates.
Awesome. I love that. Yes, because you have that expression, one step forward, two backwards sort of thing, but they're not.
They're not. So with that, I would say it's like the stretching of a rubber band. So I stretch it out to here and then I let it snap back. That wasn't backwards. That's back to the size it actually is. However, it's not the same as it was before I stretched it. It's a little bit bigger now. Don't measure the stretch. The snap back is where you're actually at. And that's where people misunderstand. People may say this about the state of the world right now with the politics and everything, is we're not backsliding. We thought we were further along than we were, and we're snapping back to where we actually are, but it's better than it was. And it's important to understand that that's the nature of growth. That's the ebb and flow of life. The tide comes in. As the tide's coming in, the waves go in and out and in and out and in and out. It's just the way growth happens. Growth isn't steady and linear. It's not.
It's cyclical. Yeah.
Yeah. So that relapse was not a relapse back to where I was before. It's not. It's still moving forward. It's just on a different path. And then I was able to get back onto this path. And those things look and feel like miracles. But that's only because we don't actually understand how life works. If we really understood how life worked, these things that look impossible would make a lot more sense.
It's just seeing the magic in it, isn't it?
Yeah. And the ordinary world is phenomenal. It is crazy weird. It is so nuts. And I just don't think we need to be looking for a weirder experience. And that's kind of what we're looking for sometimes in drugs, is because I can't see how weird this already is. But just the fact that I was one cell and became two and then turned into, it's just bizarre. It's so strange and so fascinating that there's no need to have a weirder experience. It's weird enough.
I think it's really appreciating how miraculous it all is.
Yeah.
Because if we were parent and we could see the inner workings of every cell in the body, it would be mind-blowing.
Even just one cell, I don't get it. It's so bizarre. I don't even have words for how in awe I am. I don't need to know what God is. I don't need to know any of that. This experience is a crazy psychedelic experience. And I like to say that this whole thing is God having a dissociative experience. This is just so strange and so cool and so fascinating. I haven't been bored, not for 1 second in the last 7 years. I haven't had a single moment of boredom ever since I woke up
Why do you think
again,
that?
because I became curious again.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest things is that because of the structures that are in place and the expectations, it has killed curiosity. And I know a lot of people say they're bored, and you go, how could you? It's unfathomable. How?
Yeah.
How? There's always something amazeballs.
But I want to say that it's not dead yet and it's worth doing CPR, right? So anybody who doesn't have curiosity, spend a little time with them and help them to see how amazing the small little teeny things are. And we can do that just by talking about it and just saying, what about this? And what about that? You don't have to point out big things, just little things like, how am I breathing? How is this even happening? I can choose to breathe, but I can't choose not to breathe. I don't have that choice. That's crazy weird. How does food turn into thoughts? Because somehow when I eat food, it gives me energy so I can continue to think. How is that happening? That's fascinating. Just sit and just watch something fly or watch a bug crawl along. Sharing curiosity and activating curiosity in people is the single most important thing we can do.
Are you still dancing?
I don't teach classes anymore, but I do still teach private lessons occasionally. I'm pretty much mostly devoted now to spiritual coaching. I also work in addiction treatment. So working with people in a different way is pretty much what I'm devoting my time to, but I do still teach some lessons, and I always will, because I love teaching, but the most important thing is as long as I'm still teaching, I'm always going to be happy. But
What's your favorite dance?
I'm going to say rumba. Rumba is my favorite dance.
Oh, cool. I love dancing. I find structure difficult, and doing things that are set out in a certain way, I find it hard to follow. I did started doing some ballroom dancing last year, and it's
Very structured.
it is very structured and precise.
Yeah.
But again, it's about perception. It's the fun that you put into it. So once you get it, and once you've got that connection with the partner, because if the partner's wishy-washy, I don't have the patience. So if I'm being led well, really liberating, exciting, there's so many different elements to it. It's such an amazing expression. And the number can be expressed in different ways, the exact same dance.
Oh, absolutely. I can do the same moves, but if I do them to different music or with a different person, it's going to be completely different. One of the projects I'm working on is I'm writing a book, and the book is called Lessons from the Dance Floor, Lessons in Partnership. So I'm taking lessons from a dance teacher's perspective from the dance floor, and I talk about them, and then I talk about off the dance floor what this lesson means.
Wow. So what can you tell me about meaning?
Well, yeah. So
acceptance, radical acceptance.
yeah. There's so many things that I can learn about a person just from their experience of partnership dancing. We are always in partnership with someone or something at all times. And true partnership is when the goal of both partners is to support the partnership. So in true partnership, neither one will ever criticize the other, and neither one will ever think the other one did something wrong. Once those thoughts are there, it's no longer partnership, it's an enemy.
I'm going to say it's the give and take, because on a number of occasions, I take the male role because there's never enough men. And that has really taught me about the give and take side of things.
Yeah. One of the lessons in the book is, how do you get someone to do what you want them to do? The answer is, you need to know what they want to do, and you have to use that. So you have to understand where they're coming from. I have to get them to want to do it. That's what I have to get them to do. I don't get them to do what I want. I have to make what I want appealing and comfortable
So
so
it's
that
not
it's just
forced. Yeah.
not forced. So when I lead someone, first I imagine them doing it, and then I just watch them do it. It's a manifestation through the body. So imagine what I want my partner to do, and I allow that to go through my body, and then I watch her do it in the way that she wants to do it, not the way I want her to do it, but the way she wants to do it. I remember I was at a teacher training, and the women had blindfolds on, and they were just going around a circle, and you would dance for a moment, and then you would pass to the next partner. And I remember when one of the women came to me and I touched her hands, and she said, "Oh, that's Jeremy." And I went, "What?" And the other women said, "Oh, yeah, you can tell when it's Jeremy." So there's something in the way that I would touch them that was different. And I think it has to do with the care and the respect and the feeling that's put into it. And then I had the thought, this is a weird thought, I'm never going to know what they're talking about. I'm never going to know what it feels like to dance with me.
Mm. Wow.
And I think that's an important lesson too. You're never going to know what it feels like to be with you. The
Yes.
best
And
you can do is know what you feel like when you're with people. I mean, if I'm coming from the right place, I can be sure that the experience of being with me is going to be good. And if
right.
I'm not coming from the right place, I can be sure that the experience of being with me will be negative. And so a lot of people are coming from a dark place and pretending to be respectful or happy with someone and confused as to why the person doesn't like the experience. And it's like, you cannot fake energy. Energy does not lie.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? Have you seen that? I'm sure you had that film with Anthony Banderas, Take the Lead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Mhm.
That's awesome, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about your weekly workshops that you do.
So every Saturday morning, I have a free, it's available online. We do it in person as well. I lead a guided meditation for the first hour. We do about a 20 minutes of guided meditation. It's never planned. It's always just stream of consciousness. And then we have open sharing and discussion about it. And then after that, I have a spiritual workshop. And it's also something that I don't plan ahead. It's always just guided by spirit, open discussion, where I bring up some sort of a topic and then we all just talk about it together, kind of like we're doing right now. So that's every Saturday morning, 11:30 a.m. That's Pacific time is the meditation. 12:30 to 1:30 is the workshop. It's called Conscious Evolution is the meditation, and Practical Spirituality is the name of the workshop.
Has there
Great.
been a book or a person who's really influenced you over the years?
Absolutely. I have a couple of answers for that. So my number one person would be Dolly Parton. She's my favorite human. She's my idol. And the two books were the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and A Course in Miracles.
Do you understand the Course in Miracles?
That's a great question. I experienced the Course in Miracles. It's like I just show up to read it because that's what it says to do, and I don't fight it. And then I have experiences, and then I understand it. So did I understand it the first time through? Not at all. But the second time through, very different experience. What I do like to do is get together with people and talk about it, because that shared discussion about it, just pulling it apart and talking about it, I think that group consciousness really brings the teachings alive. So I would say I don't understand it, but I do know it and I do experience it.
Do you have a quote or a favorite set of words that really inspire you?
I do. So this came from a 12-step community. It's Crystal Meth Anonymous I belong to. There's a quote from one of the readings, and it's, when our actions are consistent with our principles, we will have inner peace, honesty, and serenity.
Lovely. Yeah. Speaks volumes, doesn't it?
To me, it's everything. It's the whole basis of what I do when I'm coaching people. You don't need to live by my principles, but you do need to live by yours. So we need to figure out what your principles are. And if you're living by them, you're going to be happy.
And as you say, it's that dedication. And I do love the word, I think you used it at the beginning, is your devotion to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. To thine own self be true all the way.
Yeah. What do you do when you get in a funk now?
Two things. I would say gratitude and service. I get into gratitude and then I go help somebody. Those are the two things. And prayer is always there for me, but that's not just when I'm in a funk. That's all the time. But if I'm in a funk, the prayer would be, help me be useful. Show me how I can be useful. Because once I'm being useful, that usually pulls me out of the funk. It doesn't fix all my problems, but it'll pull me out of the funk.
Now, as you have such a vivid imagination and connection, I am your fairy godmother. If I could grant you one wish in the world, what would it be and why?
That's such an easy one for me. We would make it possible for anybody who's seeking help to get the help that they actually need and deserve. The ethical help that they deserve, because so often people that are suffering are taken advantage of, or there's stigma, or the help isn't available. So anybody who needs and wants help, I think, should be able to get the help that they deserve, and they should be able to be treated with dignity. That would be what I would fix and change in the world. There's a problem going on for sure.
Do you and or your guides have any parting message you would like to share?
Mm. Yeah, it's your story is important. Your story matters. And I think if I could share anything from my story, and it's like when I tune into my guidance right now, it's very, very quiet. It's very still right now, which means that anybody that feels like they're left behind or they're not enough, I just want them to know that's a misunderstanding. And your story will save lives if you share it. You can't come out of a closet. You can, but it's going to happen by being you. There's nobody else that can be you, and we need you.
That's lovely. Yes. We need one another. Definitely.
Yeah, we need every single person on this planet. We need you, and we need you to be you, and nobody else can do the job.
What a wonderful way to leave things. Thanks so much for your time, Jeremy. It's been an absolute delight. And yes, we could probably riff for hours yet.
I feel like there's so much more to explore, and this has just been so easy and so fun. So good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Wasn't that fun? We could have just gone on for hours. I'd love to know what nuggets of wisdom you gleaned from our conversation and how it's helped you see things through a different lens. Don't forget to tune in to Jeremy's meditation called Conscious Evolution and the Practical Spirituality workshop afterwards. It's 11:30 Pacific time on a Saturday, which I've worked out. According to Google, it's 7:30 on Sundays here in New Zealand. So enjoy. I'll certainly be giving it a go to try and get up and have a look-see for myself. So don't forget to share this episode if you've enjoyed the pearls of wisdom that you heard from it. And let me know by writing a review, as it's always appreciated. And if you've got any ideas for subjects or guests you'd like me to talk to, please email me on info@philippaross.com with your suggestions. Just like Jeremy did, he contacted me, and I'm so glad he did. So until next month, to have fun and dig deep, open your mind to a world of new possibilities, live life with a generous heart, and take steps to minimize waste and maximize your own potential. I'm going to leave you now with the chorus from the song that I created, Penguins Rock, because I put a little video compilation together from the penguins I met in Antarctica. Enjoy. There will be a link to the full song itself, which is about 7 minutes long. But oh my goodness, the words are so profound and it's such an upbeat song. I invite you to go and check it out for yourself. Much love and catch you next month.